Okay, we're going to be testing out some Windwalker Serenity Fallen Order interactions. We're currently pairing together Serenity's 1.5 minute cooldown in anticipation of next patch, where the legendary effect for monks will help us to line these two things up. Let me just double check where it is here. I think Sinister Teachings. Fallen Order summons one additional Tiger Adept for 24 seconds. And while your abilities have an active Adept, so within that 24-second window, your critical hits will reduce the CD of Fallen Order. Currently on PTR, this is in AoE, a pretty significant reduction, somewhere between 45 seconds and a minute. And for single target, you're looking at probably a minute and a half CD, give or take. So something close enough to line up with Storm, Earth, and Fire, or in this case, Serenity. And the reason why we're considering Serenity is we get a couple of damage amps in our Venthyr, in our Venthyr tree. So the first one to take note of is Imbued Reflections. I have it here, just a basic form of it, and at 145 it's already a 36% amplification to the different monks that you summon. But what we'll see is that this scales up into next tier quite high, so it goes up to something like 70% or 80% as we start the next tier, depending on the conduit level. So something like 75-80% damage boost to your monks. If you're bringing that from a 3-minute cooldown to a 1.5 minute cooldown, that's substantial. We're also lining it up with our Serenity, so the damage amp that they're getting is also going to be boosted by Coordinated Offensive. For Storm, Earth, and Fire, this will proc for your clones when you've pressed the button to focus them on a single target. So even though they're doing cleave damage, and that's part of the value of Coordinated Offensive for Storm, Earth, Fire, here with Serenity, we just get the bonus damage all the time while Serenity is rolling. So it starts at 20%, and with a 184 conduit, it moves it to 31.4%. And we're anticipating by the end of next year, this Serenity damage bonus on the conduit side will be another 20%, essentially meaning we get double the value of Serenity's bonus damage, which applies to our Fallen Order monks and not just ourselves. And in addition, we're going to amp them with Imbued Reflections. So we're also thinking about using in this final potency conduit slot probably the Fist of Fury damage amp, or potentially Zuen's Bond. The CDR is not quite as relevant, though you probably will see moments in a raid setting where you can line up Serenity with your Zuen by waiting for the 20 seconds that differentiates when you have this conduit, the CD 1.5 minute CD of Serenity, and the 1 minute and 49 second CD of Zuen. So yeah, there might be chances for you to line this up and have Zuen also do a bunch of damage. So here's the breakdown of this. I just did a pull of the swarm dummies, and I'll show you again in a second what it looks like. But consider this, we do not have the legendary out, so we're missing entirely one of our Fallen Order monks. And they're already doing a substantial amount of damage with Fist of Fury. Also, we're not on the PTR, so they're not doing their Spinning Crane Kick, which is a much better filler for them overall than their melees or their Tiger Palm. We also get 2 casts. This is 2 casts of Fist of Fury within the Serenity window, and filling with Spinning Crane Kick. Now, we're obviously not thinking so much about Mark of the Crane, though you can do it by loading up your burst window beforehand. You can open, for example, with the Venthyr ability Fallen Order and Zuen, and then you can still, prep a couple of target dummies before you hit Serenity. So something like this. You do Blackout, Kick, Blackout, one more, and then we go into our Fist of Fury combination. And then we're just going to spam Spinning Crane Kick until we get back to Fist of Fury. And that's all within the window before we finish off. And you can see here we're at about 20k DPS. So we're making use of some of the Mark of the Wild as well. And then you just tab targets to finish off. So we'll just finish that and show you kind of what that looks like. So you're in 211 gear with a Gladiator Trinket running during our burst window. We get something like 20k spikes, and here's what the damage breakdown. Still a lot of spinning crane kick damage. Again, even like your Storm of Fire will be more significant, larger, because you're cleaving with all of that. But notice, again, the conduit value is what's really significant here, because we have to focus our Storm of Fire guys. We would press them, they would all proc Mark of the Crane, and then they would be focused before they get their damage amp through the conduit. And here just our normal cast of Spinning Crane Kick loading up a couple of extra Mark of the Crane gives us a pretty substantial AoE burst. And the Fallen Monks guys are doing quite a lot. So if we had the other monk out, he would get 2 casts of Fists of Fury, which is significant. And in the PTR, one of the main differences is the number of monks you get. It's not random, it's associated with your group. So I think you're guaranteed to get, I think 4 monks that are Windwalker Monks. And then you will get 1 additional one that's there the whole time. So we would count on essentially 4 casts of Fists of Fury, plus the bonus 2 casts from our monk, our Windwalker Monk that's with us because of the legendary. And you can see Zuan damage, we haven't amped it or anything, but the empowered portion that we get would go up and would scale. Zuan is not scaling with Serenity, so that's one thing to note, but I think substantial damage of the Fallen Monks, 16 to 20% is quite strong. The benefit, of course, of running Serenity over Storm Earth Fire is that we get far more single target damage. And of course, the single target rotation is a little bit different. We're trying to get Rising Sun kicks in and cool down our Fists of Fury a little bit more. So we get our 2 kicks in, we get a couple of Rising Sun kicks in as well, and it's pretty substantial. One of the problems with Storm of Fire is, as a CD, it's kind of lackluster for all of the single target portions. Obviously the cleave is gigantic, but it's hard to swap between those two. And I just think watching Fallen Order stuff line up, looking at how much damage the Fist of Fury from our Fallen Order monks do, it's to get that down to a 1.5 minute CD, line it up with every single use of our on-use trinket. Either, you could even do the haste one if you wanted, but there's lots of better trinkets too. And just in 211 gear, you can see the burst potential is enormous. So here we have our CDs again. We'll just do the single target version. We have Fallen Order, Zuan, and Serenity all together. And then we just go straight in. I know there's a tiny bit of cleave here, but you'll get the idea. And then we're just going to do 2 blackout strikes to get our Rising Sun kick back right away, and then we get our last Fist of Fury in within the window. And then we just do our normal rotation until these guys are done. Note here, we are still cooling things down until Fallen Order ends. And that's basically the rotation. Obviously, there's a bit of cleave here, so we have to take that into account. We're not so much looking at the damage amount because we are obviously in crap gear, but we're looking at, relatively speaking, what you can expect. Here's the breakdown. A little more melee damage from the Fallen Monks overall. Obviously, in this, the Crackling Tiger damage is pretty significant. Fist of Fury, we get 2 within our window here, and then Rising Sun Kick as a better filler. Anyways, just a few things to kind of test out. We are at 211 gear overall with some trinkets. We basically have the main pieces. Obviously, we don't have a weapon really. We are at a 190 weapon. We don't have 2 raid weapons or anything. We're just kind of starting out. You can see where this is going Just wanted to test it out and take a look. Thanks for watching.